Hi, it's Gary. Welcome to today's video. Today, fountain pen focus day, and the pen we're going to focus on is this. This is the Jinhao 159. It's not that new X159 model, it's the original 159. What we're going to do is take a look at the pen. We'll do some size comparisons, some weights and measures, a writing sample, then I'll give my thoughts and some scores on this pen. Welcome down to the mat. So here we've got the Jinhao 159. This is in an all silver colour. I have got another 159. I'll just fetch it in very quickly. This one's in blue. Loads of different colour options available with this pen. We're just going to stick though looking through this silver one for the moment. So the shape, it's a torpedo shape. We can see there we've got the domes on either end. We come down the cap, so we're going, and we'll come out fairly quickly. Top of the clip, we come down. This, I'm not sure if it's metal or plastic. It's very, very, very stiff. Oh, there it is. I can actually move it occasionally, not very often though, but I very rarely put this in a shirt pocket, so it doesn't really bother me too much. This is the 159, not the X159. So we've still got that Jinhao medal on there. The cap, we're tapering out till I think really near the bottom of the clip. We've got here a band, we've got Jinhao. Go around there, we've got 159. Tells you what it is. Nice, simple, plain. Below that band, we've got another little bit of the silver material. Then we've got a drop off down to the main body. It's not a big drop off. I can feel it because I'm rubbing my finger on it and I'm deliberately looking for it. So we come on down. About halfway down, we then start to taper in. Got another gold coloured band, and then we've got the end finial there. I really like this brushed metal look. Let's take the cap off. Half. Less than one turn there. Let's do that again. I've put it back on. Half. Just about maybe just under one turn. Really nice to come off. Then that reveals this Jinhao nib. Taking a look at the nib, it's predominantly a gold colour, but then we've got this nice silver coloured band going around, this decorative border. I like that. I like seeing two-tone nibs. I'd like to have seen a little bit more of the silver on here, but it's nice. I just think having two tones, to me, it draws the eye. We've then got a breather hole. We've then got a Jinhao logo, Jinhao, and then the thing which always makes me laugh, 18 kgp. This nib is a medium nib. I like my wider nibs, so I was glad to be able to get this in a medium. Just on fetching the blue one, the nib is a number 6 nib. It's dead easy to change, so I just pulled out the old feeder nib and then put in the new one. So I've actually got on here a Conklin broad nib. Now I don't have this pen inked up at the moment. Oh, I absolutely love writing with this pen, it's so wet. But anyway, let's get back to the silver one. We come into the section. The section fairly short. No real lip at the bottom, little tiny flare out, but it's not uncomfortable. The pen, if I'm going to be over picky, pen just a little bit on the short side for me. The section is actually quite short. Doesn't seem to be concave, it just seems to come out in a gentle flare. And then we get to the threads for the cap. If we unscrew the body, we've got a converter in there. That comes with the pen and it's all metal fitting. So not really a pen that you would even think about eyedropping. Let's pop this back down. So that's the pen itself. Let's swap over and look at some size comparisons. The two pens I brought in is the Pilot Metropolitan and the Lamy Safari. Standard pens that I use in all my videos. This is because most people have got either one or both, or at least seen them, so they've got a rough idea how big they are. And certainly, when we got the cap on, that Jinhao, bigger than both of them. Let's look at them unposted. Unposted, the Jinhao, that's now virtually the same size as the Pilot Metropolitan if we're measuring from the tip of the nib. If we were measuring from the section, the Pilot Metropolitan, well, that's now slightly longer. Looking at Safari, it's definitely longer there. And I think the Safari, in terms of the length, does feel nicer. Let's take a look at these posted. With the pens posted, the Safari and the Jinhao 159, they're now more or less the same length. If we do the same thing and line the sections up, the Lamy Safari posted ever so slightly longer. The Jinhao, it's not really very secure when it posts. I mean, it will post, but it's so easy for that cap to come off. I mean, you can see I'm literally just tipping it and off it comes. Let's swap over the view, and I'm going to fetch some pens in that are roughly the same price. The two pens I brought in a Pen BBS 494, so another Chinese model. That was $8 Aussie dollars. The Jinhao 159, that was $7 Aussie dollars. And then I've also brought in the Platinum Preppy, a Japanese pen, steel nib. That pen was $8 Aussie dollars. So they're both ever so slightly higher in price. I mean, I'm talking like $1. The reason I brought these two in, I do have a lot of pens which are a lot closer in price to the Jinhao, but they're all Jinhao pens, so I thought let's fetch in some other manufacturers. Let's take a look at the pens unposted. Unposted, to be honest, in terms of length, all three pens very much similar. But in terms of the width of the section and the width of the whole pen, the Jinhao just looks like a beast compared to the other two. Because the other two, they are very, very slim. Whereas the Jinhao, with that extra girth, makes it a lot easier to hold. So definitely a benefit there for me. Let's pop the caps on. With the caps on, the Jinhao 159, again, as well as being wider, is definitely a bit longer than the other two pens. Let's swap this out and we'll fetch in the rule of measurement. Here we've got the rule of measurement. Let's fetch in the pen. So with the cap on, that comes in at 14.8 centimetres. Uncapped, we're looking at 12.5 centimetres. Hope if I get it lined up properly. Posted, as I say, doesn't post very well, but you can do it. That comes in at 16.4 centimetres. Widths, the width of the body at its widest is 1.57 centimetres. The cap, 1.69 centimetres. Then the section, it goes from 1.21 up to 1.36 centimetres. A nice, wide, and for me, comfortable section. Let's clear this off and fetch in the scales of weighing. Here's the scales of weighing. So the pen as a whole, 49 grams. It's a heavy pen. It's nice. I like the weight of this pen. The cap alone, 19 grams. And the body, remember there's a teeny bit of ink in there, 30 grams. So it's a weighty pen, and I think that makes a lot of difference when I'm using it. Let's move this out of the way and fetch in the notepad of testing. Here we've got the notepad of testing. This is our Ayush paper, 100 GSM paper, made in India, really nice notebook. I quite enjoy using this, and it works really well with most of my fountain pens. Let's do some writing. So we have here a Jinhao 159 with a medium nib. It cost me $7 Aussie dollars. The ink is by Robert Oster. And it's called Aussie Brown. This is an ink I don't use often enough. I love the colour of this. It's got a real nice shading. But I've got that many different brown inks, I try to rotate through them all, so it doesn't really get the use that I'd like. I mean, for me, this is just lovely with the way we've got the colours. Let's look at drying times. So we've got immediate. 10 seconds. 30 seconds. 1 minute. After a minute, that's more or less dry. A little tiny smudge still coming off there, but not enough to need to do a 2-minute test. Going to move the mic down to the paper and we'll write a sentence. It's a noisy writer, I will give it that. I mean, yes, I know this Ayush paper's got texture to it, but I can get that audible feedback no matter what paper I'm using, even when I use Tomoe River paper. I don't mind it, I quite like it because I like to feel the tactileness, so I can feel the nib going over the paper as well as hear it. And to me, it just adds to the experience. Let's look for line variation. So we're going to go here, no pressure. I'm going to add some pressure. And then we'll do my S's there. So we do have a little bit of line variation there. And then flow. The flow keeps up really well. I apologise if you heard some snoring when I was doing that. I've got my dog is in the room with me at the moment and she's having a nice old dream. So what are my thoughts and scores for the Jinhao 159? This is a really nice pen. I really like it. It's enjoyable to use. We'll start by taking the score for pen look. It's a nice plain design. Lots of options. As I showed you, I've already got the blue one. I haven't yet ordered it, but I do want to get an X159 to compare against this. But nothing's stopping me getting more 159s. Just the fact I've got so many pens that I find that I don't really need more than a couple of each. Although, if I'm using this as a nib holder, like I am with a Conklin broad nib, then, it's quite nice. It's inexpensive to do that. I like the way we've got the gold trim that really offsets this brushed metal material. So for pen looks, I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. Writing experience. Well, on here, it's lovely, really nice. We've got this gorgeous brown ink and we can see some nice shading coming through there. One thing I'm going to say we haven't seen on here, if I leave the pen for about a week, then the nib, it seems to dry up and I just have to, actually give it a shake and then scribble on some scrap paper for about 2 seconds. Then it starts writing and it writes fine after that. So, yep, the nib is tending to dry out a bit, but I think that's because I've pulled the nib out quite a few times and maybe what I need to do is reposition the nib and the feed so that the nib is actually higher up. At the moment, I do have quite a big gap there and I think that helps with the line variation. But I know what to do to get it to work, and then once it's going, it's fine. It's nice and smooth. I love the line width. It's a nice, generous medium line. For writing experience, I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. Ink flow. Well, very similar comments. The issue with the fact that the nib dries out. When it's writing, we can see here with the flow, keeps up really well. The line variation, not sure how much of that is because we've just got more ink coming out rather than any kind of flex or natural line variation in the nib. But it does look nice, and when I'm writing, as we see on the S's, it does give me a nice line difference. So for ink flow, I'm going to give it 8 out of 10. Value for money. Well, $7. Writes nicely. Medium nib. Writes nicely. Lets me get ideas out of my head and onto paper, and I quite enjoy doing it. Do have some issues, as I've said, with the nib drying out, but I understand it. I've got a workaround. Value for money, I've got to give this a 9 out of 10. It really is exceptional value. And that gives me a total score of 8.25 out of 10 for the Jinhao 159 with Robert Oster Aussie Brown. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. What are your thoughts on the Jinhao 159? What are your thoughts on similar pens? I think the price of this pen is just too good value, it really is. Please drop your comments down below. Let's kickstart the conversation. Please hit the thumbs up button. Every time you like, every time you comment, just helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so that you can get new videos as I release them. I'll talk to you again soon.